That's the way it is, and it's something that we should cherish. We were able to do something that nobody was able to do, and it's all starting to come together. The issue of abortion. And
so that was Trump saying that overturning Roe versus Wade and doing away with abortion is something that we should all cherish. Folks, he is truly proud of the fact that his presidency is what led to Roe versus Wade being overturned, and he's just leaning into it now and owning it. And I think we really need to keep focused on this issue as we go into this election, because we see so many unhinged clips from Trump every day. And I'm going to continue to point them out. I'm going to continue to call him out on his bullshit, because we can't allow for that type of behavior to become normalized. But at the same time, we can't let that unhinged behavior distract us from what's really going on. We can sit here and we can all have a good laugh at the battery and the shark story that he's now butchered twice. I mean, he goes out there and says it once, it was bad enough. He repeated it again, it was even worse. And we can point that out and we can say that's unhinged and that ain't normal. But at the same time, we need to also be pointing out what he plans to do, because here's what happens when we point out the unhinged behavior to the people who aren't really paying attention. They just let it roll off their shoulder because it doesn't affect them. And they're looking at their grocery bill going, well, the grocery bill's high. I don't really care if you rambled about a battery or shark. They're not zeroing in on, hey, wait a minute. He's bragging about taking away rights from women. He plans on taking away more if he's reelected. That's where we need to keep our focus at. So as much as I'm going to keep playing these unhinged clips of Trump, I think it's very important that we keep playing clips like this where we show him bragging about taking rights from women.
Supreme Court justices and the Supreme Court ruled to end the moral and constitutional atrocity known as Roe v. Wade. Very important. We did the Roe v. Wade thing, which they've been trying to get it done. If it weren't for me with Roe v. Wade, you wouldn't even be talking about this. Getting rid of Roe v. Wade was an incredible thing.
I'm the one that got rid of Roe v. Wade.
And what I did by killing Roe v. Wade, which everyone said was impossible. For 54 years, they were trying to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I did it, and I'm proud to have done it.
So the next time someone complains to you that a bag of chips is too expensive these days, play them that clip. If they start going off about gas prices, play them that clip and remind them that inflation goes up and down regardless of who the president is. Gas prices go up and down regardless of who the president is. And corporations set their prices regardless of who the president is. So you may get Donald Trump reelected and your grocery bill might be a little bit cheaper, but guess what? Your daughter's still not going to have any rights, and you're going to have a president who's going to bat against her every day. Donald Trump has already said that he's going to appoint more Supreme Court justices even further to the right. That's how he's going to stack the Supreme Court. So your daughter's future is not going to be a bright one. She's going to live in a very dark time in America, and she's going to face things that you never had to face and your mother never had to face. See, that's what I'm upset about. Don't get me wrong. I hate the fact that the prices are high too. I hate the fact that I spent $116 on a few bags of groceries. It sucks. I understand your frustration, but my priorities are focused on the fact that my daughter doesn't have the same rights today that my mother had when she had me. That's where my thought lays. You know, I can sit here all day long and say, well, times are tough. They're always going to be tough, folks, and they're going to get tougher. You know, if you could bring my grandpa back from the grave and say, hey, Papa, gas is $3, he'd shit his pants, because back in his days it was 15 cents, you know, probably cheaper than that at one point. So times change and prices go up, and one day we'll all be paying $15 for a gallon of milk and we won't even be thinking about it. That's just how life goes. But your daughter's future is slowly but surely circling the drain, and they're out here trying to frame this that it's a states' rights issue. It's not. It's a women's rights issue. It is a human rights issue. And when Trump is asked about doctors and should they face punishment, well, he throws it back to the states. That's one of their newest cliches that they're latching on to, and it's bullshit.
Do you think a doctor should be punished who perform abortions?
I'll let that be to the states. You know, everything we're doing now is states and states' rights. And what we wanted to do is get it back to the states, because for 53 years it's been a fight. And now the states are handling it. And some have handled it very well, and the others will end up handling it very well. And those are the things that states are going to make a determination about. Okay?
Again, this is not a states' rights issue. It is a women's rights issue, and we have to keep our focus right there. We can't let them change the narrative on this one, folks. And if he wants to talk about states doing a good job and some states doing a bad job, well, what's his definition of good? Because I would point to this article that Midas Touch came out with, Texas 2021 abortion ban linked to the rise in infant deaths. Now, this study found that between 2021 and 2022, Texas saw a 12.9% increase in infant deaths, 255 more deaths from the previous year. So tell me again, how exactly are they the party of pro-life? And one story that I'm never going to let go away, and I hope I'm saying this correctly, JAMA Internal Medicine did a study where they found that since Roe versus Wade has been overturned, there have been 64,000 cases of pregnancies caused by rape. That's from July of 2022 to January of 2024. Think about that, folks. And 59,000 of those cases were expected to be in places that does not have an exception for the case of rape. So I don't want to hear you complain about the price of chips anymore. That's ridiculous. The price of gas. I'll pay a little bit more at the pump to protect my daughter's future. And when we really start digging and looking at how these Christian nationalists are trying to frame all of this, folks, the war is on women. They're against women. I'm going to play you a clip here of Christian nationalist Doug Wilson. He's talking about how women should have never had the right to vote. Yeah, I actually said that out loud. Take a look.
When women were granted the right to vote, the nation had already accepted the lie that a nation is nothing more than a collection of individuals. And so the matter was framed this way. Men as individuals can vote, so why cannot individual women do the same? We were so muddled, we thought we were giving the franchise to women when we were in fact taking it away from families.
So he's trying to say that the rights got taken away from the families. No, what he's really saying is that men should have control and say over the families, and women should have no say whatsoever. Now, I want you to ask yourself this. How many of you actually thought that Roe versus Wade would ever be overturned? I know I didn't. I thought it was just a wedge issue that Republicans used to try to get the Christian vote. I thought that's all it was. I thought they'll never actually do away with this. They know that we have to keep this in place, but they didn't. They came for it. They took it away. And I never thought I would see that. So if they would take away a woman's right to her own body to make decisions concerning her own body and her own health, then what's to say that they wouldn't come for the right to vote next? That's why I'm not complaining about a bag of chips, folks. That's why that there's bigger fish to fry here. There's a lot more important issues we need to be talking about than his battery and shark rant. And I want to point this out too. Donald Trump has not always been a pro-lifer. As a matter of fact, he used to be very pro-choice. As a matter of fact, he once upon a time suggested aborting his daughter, Tiffany. Take a look at this.
For Donald Trump's entire life, before becoming a politician, he was a strong supporter of abortion, verging on an enthusiast. He was the kind of guy who would say, "What are we going to do about this?" when a woman told him he impregnated her. He told that story in 2004 on Howard Stern's radio show. Donald Trump said, "You know, all the time it was like, 'Excuse me, what happened?' And I said, 'Well, what are we going to do about this?' She said, 'Are you serious? It's the most beautiful day of our lives.' I said, 'Oh, great.'" And now, Donald Trump's most ignored child, Tiffany Trump, has that story of her birth that lives publicly with her for her entire life, thanks to then abortion enthusiast Donald Trump.
So yeah, the guy that's out there bragging about overturning Roe versus Wade and saying that's a moment we should all cherish is the same guy that said, "What are we going to do about this?" When he was out living his good life and planning his families, he said, "What are we going to do about this?" Because he wanted to be able to make that decision. He wanted to be able to make that call, but he's proud of the fact that he took away women's rights to make that call themselves. And I would really hate to be one of Donald Trump's daughters. He's got one daughter who has to live with the story of him wanting to abort her, and he's got the other daughter having to live with the story of him wanting to date her if she wasn't his daughter. He's truly a disgusting human being, and he's out there bragging about taking away rights from women, and he wants to get reelected so he can stack the Supreme Court further to the right. That's why we can't let this story go away, and we have to focus on this. And I really hope that when Joe Biden gets him on the debate stage, he holds him accountable for this. I think he needs to come after him with this issue every chance he gets. Don't ever let up on this. And anytime people starts complaining about all the issues that are going to go one way or the other, circle back to this one, because this one's the one that truly matters. Inflation is going to go up and down. Gas prices are going to go up and down. Women's rights ain't going to come back, folks, if we let the government fall back into the hands of Donald Trump.